Hello, it's Philly here from Chris and Philly Functional Medicine. I am on a mission to end body burnout, especially in high achievers who are experiencing energy, mood, and gut issues. Now, I want to talk specifically about the gut today. So, a lot of our clients come to us with many gut issues: diarrhea, reflux, constipation, bloating, abdominal pain, or maybe just so many food sensitivities that, they're only eating a very small amount of foods. These type of people usually put themselves on a restricted diet, or they might have worked with another practitioner, nutritionist, dietitian who have suggested going on certain diets. Now, I don't just see this in new clients. I see this in social media. I see this in the people that I'm talking to or, that I might be friends with on social media. And there's something that's been bothering me a lot. And I feel a very strong need to address this officially with our community. So here are my thoughts about certain long-term restrictive diets. So these are things like, some popular ones that are going around are keto, paleo, low FODMAP. I'm even going to say things like low histamine. So I want to talk specifically in this video about long-term restrictive diets. So if you're like me, I am on social media, mostly for business, but, I'll do a little bit of scrolling. And of course, I like and follow other influencers, functional medicine practitioners, nutritionists, foodies. And what I'm seeing is that literally every second post that I look at, there's often some sort of comment around restricting the diet, especially around grains. So a lot of people think that grains are making us sick. But then there's also different pockets of people that are like, well, yeah, but legumes also make you sick and fruit makes you sick and potatoes and nightshades and foods high in histamine or salicylates, or even just carbs in general. So it's a common script that I am reading from other experts, how grains and legumes are full of lectins and how hard they are to digest, and how they can cause things like leaky gut and lead to inflammatory health issues, not just gut issues, but also things like joint pain and chronic fatigue, depression. Then there's a whole camp of other people too, probably more in the keto camp where, fruit is bad. Fruit is full of sugar. Fruit will feed candida, or a whole other type of probably more autoimmune type experts are saying, well, but nightshades are inflammatory. No one with an autoimmune condition should eat nightshades because they're high in alkaloids, which can produce inflammation. Blah, 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 blah. I could go on and on. Potatoes make you fat, or low carb diets are better than high carb diets, da-di-da-di-da. Now, what I want to say is that I have a lot of respect for other people with these viewpoints, but what I disagree with is that grains or specific foods and generalizations that grains, legumes, fruits, potatoes, nightshades are making us sick. And I want to explain why. But before I do, I want to give you a disclaimer, because I might have some clients listening to me and they're like, well, hang on, Philly, you've put me on a low histamine diet, or I'm on a low FODMAP/SIBO diet, or an anti-candida diet, which is very similar to the keto diet. Well, hang on, you use those diets. And yes, I do. So my disclaimer is, yes, I have, or we have in our practice, a toolkit of a bunch of different healing diets. Some are elimination diets, but they are only for the short term. They are specifically for short-term sprints to heal different body systems, depending on what's going on for that client and the imbalances that are showing up on their lab tests. Now, I can see why people are saying, keto and paleo and low FODMAP are like the bee's knees and the way that you should eat, because to tell you the truth, and this is why we use different healing elimination diets, is that high fiber or higher glycemic foods such as grains and legumes, even fruits, can lead to symptoms like bloating and eczema and joint pain and sugar imbalances and other inflammatory symptoms. So I get it, and that's why we have these restrictive diets for therapeutic purposes. But my issue is staying on these diets long term. And the issue is that staying on these healing diets long term can actually make your health issues worse. It actually breaks my heart when we have a client join us, a new client, and, a part of the initial consult, connect the dots session or experience is, we dive deep into, well, what are you currently eating? What have you been eating? And it breaks my heart when we have a client who is like, oh yeah, I've been eating low FODMAP for the last 10 years, or for the last 2 years, I've only been able to eat chicken, broccoli, white rice, and like a tiny bit of apple. And that is all I've been eating, because every time I try and eat something away from those foods, I get severe bloating, diarrhea, or, inflammatory symptoms. So I get why people stay on restrictive diets, because it can help you feel better symptomatically. But just like pharmaceutical medications, a lot of them, restrictive diets can just be a band-aid effect. And the longer you stay on a restrictive diet, the more you trap yourself into a corner. So literally, like, over time, if you're restricting your diet to less, you can literally paint yourself into this corner where you start reacting to more and more foods. It's like, so maybe you only end up tolerating a very small handful of food, and your life is quite miserable, and you lost all joy in eating, and maybe even you're losing a stack of weight because you can't eat the foods. So why does long-term restrictive diets, or the big issue where staying on a long-term restricted diet so the big issue comes because you often starve out your beneficial microbiome. Limiting very high fiber foods will starve out your beneficial bacteria. And I'm not just making this stuff up. We have run, I don't know how many, it would be in the thousands of lab tests now. And we have done a stack of microbiome stool tests. So I can see, it's always I'm never surprised, but the client is always surprised if they've been on keto, for example, for a really long time. They're like, yeah, I eat healthy. And, keto can be and is healthy in terms of the quality of the food, but it can starve out the microbiome, and we can see that on a lab test. And so they're always shocked. They're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was eating healthy. I thought I was doing good things for my gut. Yeah, it might have starved out pathogenic bacteria, but it also starved out your beneficial microbiome, which can make things worse over time. You see, your good bugs in your microbiome regulate your overall health. So when you starve them off with restrictive diets, long term, I'm not talking about short term, I'm talking about long term, your gut will become dysfunctional, leading to more symptoms in your gut as well as in other body systems. Personally, I believe that a high fiber with fermentable carbohydrates are absolutely key to optimal health, and it's the way that I eat on a daily basis. Wasn't always that case. I had to restrict it for some time to starve off, say, candida, but only for a short 1 or 2 months. Now my diet is very diverse and my good bugs are loving it. So if you've been listening to this whole video so far, I'm guessing this is resonating with you. You're probably someone who is a bit unsure about what they should be eating, or stuck in a corner of restrictive eating. So I would say to you, look at what you're currently eating. Instead of going with the fad of the day because your friend or a health blogger told you it was healthy, consider the damage you might actually be doing by eating, for example, a low carb diet. If you might also be thinking, yeah, Philly, but actually I would really love to eat more fiber. I can see the benefits of it, but your gut just can't handle it. If that's you, if every time you try and introduce onions or garlic or apples or lentils, and your gut just says, no way, I cannot do this, you get a lot of symptoms, seek out someone who can help you navigate this. I know someone very good. It doesn't have to be me, but you need professional help. You need to heal the imbalances inside, not just your gut, but in other body systems that are causing you to be overreactive to certain foods in the first place. Heal those body systems, and then over time, I promise you, your diet will be able to increase, which is super exciting. So key things, like you need to look at your gut health for sure. The other thing though is doing neural pathway reprogramming, because if you're someone who's super reactive, and it might not just be to food, it might be to chemicals, it might need be to mold, you have literally created this chronic state of fight or flight in your system, in your brain, and it's affecting your adrenals, and it's literally creating pain where maybe there actually might not be pain. I probably need to explain that a bit better. That will be in another blog post. But all I'm saying is just doing gut work is not the answer. You also need to look at your nervous system and work on regulating your nervous system at the deepest level. Okay, so I really hope that, if you're an avid paleo eater, keto, low FODMAP, low histamine, I'm not shaming you here. I'm just providing you some insights and also some awareness in terms of what eating that way may be, or how eating that way may be affecting your microbiome long term. So there's some really helpful resources. I'll pop them in the links below this video so that you can actually have some other resources that really looks into this topic. And these are from some of my mentors. So the first one is an amazing webinar by my original functional medicine mentor, Dr. Kalish, who is one of the world's best in functional medicine. So he looked at the microbiome and how it can cause dysfunction in the human body. There's also another podcast with one of my SIBO past mentors, Dr. Jacoby, who talks to a gastroenterologist about feeding the microbiome and how that is so important, and that fiber is really important. And then also another one of my mentors, Dr. Horalak, who has a PhD in the microbiome. He also has another amazing podcast with the lovely Dr. Joe Witten from Quirky Cooking. If you have a Thermomix, you will know who I'm talking about. So there's just some extra resources that I think you would find it really helpful to listen to, that will really give light to what I'm actually talking about in this video. So anyway, I hope you have an amazing week ahead. Stay amazing and start eating foods that your microbiome will love. And if you're really struggling to tolerate more high fiber foods, please feel free to get in touch. We absolutely love to help. We would actually bit tongue-tied. We'd absolutely love to help you in your healing journey, so that you can not just nourish your microbes, but so that you can get vibrant health and get your life back, be able to be more productive without doing more, be able to show up as the type of mom or dad or business owner or a human being that you want to be, because that is the payoff. That is the payoff when you nourish your microbiome, when you work on restoring your health, and the benefits will show up in your life beyond just how you feel within your body. And that is what we are all about. So see you later. If you have any questions, comments, pop them in the comments below, or feel free to send me a private message. All right, see ya.